Most people wake up and immediately hand over their most powerful hours to a glowing screen. They scroll, they snooze, they negotiate with comfort, and before they even realize it, the morning is gone, the momentum is dead, and the rest of the day becomes a desperate chase after something they already lost in the first 10 minutes. But what if someone told you that the difference between a wasted day and a legendary one comes down to exactly 4 minutes? 4 minutes of raw, intentional, non-negotiable discipline. Not a 2-hour morning routine. Not a cold plunge that takes a whole week to mentally prepare for. Just 4 minutes that ignite what we call the relentless soul engine, the inner force that drives you forward when every excuse in the world is screaming at you to stop. This is not theory. This is not motivational fluff. This is the mental blueprint that separates the people who dominate their days from the ones who just survive them. If you have ever felt your morning slipping away and your ambition shrinking under the weight of habits you never chose, then what you are about to hear was built specifically for you. Every single morning, you face a war, and the battleground is your own mind. The moment your alarm goes off, your brain enters a state of negotiation. It whispers to you that 5 more minutes will not hurt anyone, that the emails can wait, that inspiration will come later when you are more rested, more prepared, more ready. And in that exact moment, before your feet even hit the floor, you either win or you lose the entire day. This is not dramatic language. This is the architecture of human habit and neurological programming working against your highest potential. The brain, by design, seeks comfort and avoids effort. It is wired for survival, not for greatness. So if you want to build something extraordinary with your life, you have to learn how to override that default setting every single morning without apology and without delay. David Goggins has spent his entire public life trying to teach the world this one relentless truth, that the mind will always quit before the body does, and that the only way to break free from mediocrity is to develop an unshakable relationship with discipline. Not motivation, not inspiration, discipline. The kind that shows up when motivation is nowhere to be found. The kind that does not require a perfect mood, a perfect schedule, or a perfect environment. The kind that fires up in 4 minutes because you decided the night before that your morning belongs to you and no one else. That decision is not made in the morning. It is made in the quiet moments before sleep, when you draw a line in the sand and say, tomorrow, I own the first 4 minutes of my existence, and everything I build from that point forward will carry the energy of that choice. The 4-minute morning is not about what you do physically. It is about what you choose mentally. It is about standing at the edge of your comfort zone every morning and stepping over it before the excuses get a running start. When you do this consistently, something shifts inside you. The scrolling habit starts to lose its grip. The procrastination cycle starts to collapse. Because you have already proven to yourself in the first 4 minutes of the day that you are someone who does not wait for the perfect moment. You create the moment. You become the moment. And that single identity shift changes everything that follows for the rest of your waking hours. Now here's where it gets real. Most people who want to change their morning routine fail not because they lack desire. They fail because they underestimate the power of the transition zone, that dangerous 3 to 5 minute window between waking and rising, where the brain is most vulnerable to the pull of the old pattern. Scientists call it sleep inertia. The Relentless Soul philosophy calls it the danger zone. And in that danger zone, the phone becomes a weapon pointed directly at your productivity. You pick it up, and within 60 seconds, you are already inside someone else's world, someone else's narrative, someone else's algorithm-designed dopamine loop. Your brain, which was primed and ready for new neural pathways, gets immediately flooded with reactive, passive information. And just like that, without a single punch being thrown, you have already lost the morning. The key is to build what is called a micro-commitment, one small, physical, immediate action that your body can execute before your sleepy brain has time to veto it. It does not need to be dramatic. It just needs to be intentional. The moment that foot hits the floor with purpose, with direction, with awareness, the brain begins to shift. Dopamine starts moving through different channels. Cortisol, which peaks naturally in the first 30 minutes of waking, begins working for you instead of against you. You are suddenly operating with a biological advantage that most people completely waste on passive scrolling. And here is the part that most morning routine videos will never tell you. The power is not in the specific action you take in those 4 minutes. The power is in the act of choosing. When you choose to move, to breathe, to think, to write a single sentence in a journal, to say a single sentence of gratitude out loud before you open any app or engage with any outside noise, you are sending a message to every part of your nervous system that says, I am in control today.
Not the algorithm, not the notifications, not the anxiety loop.
Me. And that message, repeated every single morning, begins to permanently rewire the architecture of your self-concept. You stop seeing yourself as someone who procrastinates. You start seeing yourself as someone who leads, and leads first with yourself. Now pay close attention here, because this is where the story takes a turn that most people never expect. It is not the morning itself that changes your life. It is what the morning routine does to the hours that follow. Here is the psychological mechanism almost no one is talking about. When you start your day with even a 4-minute act of intentional discipline, your brain creates something called a behavioral anchor. That anchor stays with you all day. Every decision you make after that morning moment is unconsciously filtered through the identity you established in those first few minutes. If you started your day scrolling, your brain categorizes the day as reactive, passive, and low effort. Every subsequent choice follows that category. But if you started your day by owning those first 4 minutes, your brain categorizes the day as intentional, disciplined, and high value. And every subsequent choice, the meal you eat, the work you prioritize, the conversations you engage in, the time you protect, filters through that upgraded identity. This is exactly why David Goggins does not just talk about hard physical training. He talks about what that training does to the mind when it is done with total intentionality. It creates a standard, and standards, once set, become the invisible architecture of every choice that follows. The 4-minute morning is your standard. It is your declaration that this day will not be ordinary because you refuse to let it begin in ordinary fashion. And the beautiful, almost paradoxical truth is that the harder your night was, the more important that morning discipline becomes. When life is falling apart, when the weight of everything feels unbearable, that is precisely the moment when 4 minutes of ownership over your own mind becomes the most powerful act you can perform. Not because it solves every problem, but because it reminds you on a deep neurological level that you are still capable of choosing. And as long as you can choose, you are not defeated. You are building, you are moving, you are becoming something that procrastination, comfort, and doubt can never touch, because you already did the hardest thing before the world even asked you to. Here is the final truth, and it is the one that will either change everything for you or fade away like every other piece of content you have ever consumed without acting on. The gap between who you are right now and who you are capable of becoming is not filled with years of therapy, perfect planning, or waiting for the right circumstances. That gap is filled by 4 minutes of daily, unbreakable, ego-free discipline repeated without negotiation, without complaint, and without the need for applause. Nobody is going to celebrate your 4-minute morning. Nobody is going to hand you a medal for choosing yourself before you checked your messages. But you will feel it. You will feel it in the way your confidence grows quietly and steadily, like a foundation being poured beneath a building that is not yet visible from the street. You will feel it in the reduction of that gnawing afternoon guilt that comes from knowing you gave away your best hours to distraction. You will feel it in the clarity of your thinking, the sharpness of your focus, and the increasing sense that you are someone who can trust yourself to follow through. And over time, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the relentless soul engine that David Goggins speaks about so powerfully will not feel like something you are trying to build. It will feel like something you already are. Because discipline, when practiced small and consistent, does not just change your habits. It changes your identity. You become someone who wakes up and wins first. Someone who does not negotiate with excuses. Someone who knows from lived daily experience that the hardest part of any great day is simply choosing to begin it on your own terms. The morning is yours. The discipline is yours. The life you are building is yours. And it starts every single time, without exception, in 4 minutes. Do not waste another morning. Start tomorrow. Start with one decision. Start with the understanding that your greatest competition is not the person next to you. It is the version of you that keeps hitting snooze, keeps scrolling, and keeps waiting for a tomorrow that never quite arrives the way you imagined it would. Own the morning. Fuel the engine. Be relentless.